Aside from the main protagonist Ichigo, Hitsugaya is perhaps one of the other handful of notable characters that heavily feature in the entire Bleach story, and we see our little captain play a considerable role in all the arcs that have aired so far. Hitsugaya's notable role in all the arcs has given us the opportunity to intimately know our favorite prodigy and get familiar with not only his personality but most importantly his fighting style and skills. Throughout the Bleach story, we get to witness the growth tangent of Toshiro's fighting skill from his somewhat naive but still strong battling style in the Soul Society arc, to his somewhat reckless approach in the Arrancar and Fake Karakura Town arcs, to finally a much more refined and less careless approach in the Thousand Year Blood War arc. Throughout the entire Bleach story, we get to witness virtually all of Toshiro's fighting techniques using both his Shikai and Bankai. However, it is in the Thousand Year Blood War arc that our little prodigy seems to peak his fighting potential and use his most advanced techniques. With that said, we get to see a somewhat colder and shrewder side of our young captain in the Thousand Year Blood War arc when he is temporarily turned into a zombie by the sternritter Giselle after his victory over Cang. In this video, I'm going to discuss the contrast and the drastic change in Toshiro's fighting style and ruthlessness in his zombified state in comparison to his normal style as per the events of his interesting battle with Mayuri. Following the defeat of the zombified Bambietta by Mayuri's corpse unit, Giselle summons a zombified Hitsugaya to face off with Mayuri and his army of revived Arrancar. From the get-go, we see a very different version of our man Hitsugaya as he steps into the battlefield. For starters, we see him immediately freeze the ground he walks on as the fight scene begins, and this is quite different from the normal Toshiro who moves around without freezing his surroundings. The next notable difference after this is that zombified Hitsugaya's Shikai seems to be overpowered in this stage, judging by his opening attack on Yumichika and Ikkaku, as we see just a single swing of his sword seems to freeze a considerably large area with ease and trap and injure Ikkaku, who pushes Yumichika out of the way of the attack. Similarly, after mercilessly dispatching Ikkaku, we see the zombified Toshiro masterfully use hakuda mixed with his Shikai power to freeze his knee and use the sharp icicle formed on his knee to impale Yumichika after he blocks his Zanpakuto. Now this is a move we have never seen Hitsugaya use in the entirety of the story, and it is somewhat pleasantly surprising to see his zombified version use it so swiftly. After he easily defeats Yumichika, zombie Hitsugaya's savage side is further revealed with the way he dispatches the Arrancar Charlotte after the revived Arrancar naively confronts him. Zombie Hitsugaya casually decapitates Charlotte's arm and leaves a deep wound on his torso from just a single swing of his sword, a feat of ruthlessness that, again, we are not used to seeing from our little captain. Perhaps zombie Hitsugaya's savagery is best exemplified when he then proceeds to fight with Mayuri. For starters, we see Toshiro's amazing Shumpo capabilities when he expertly dodges Mayuri's web-like traps when their battle begins. I don't think up to this point in the entire story we have seen Hitsugaya move so fast using his flash step, and this just shows how much potential our young prodigy may have been holding back. Next, we see zombie Toshiro use hakuda for a second time to attempt to strike Mayuri using his knee after all his sword attacks are blocked. Again, this is a rarity for Toshiro's fights, as up until this point, we mostly see the captain avoid close quarter melees and favor putting some distance between him and his opponents during his fights. The only difference with this hakuda attack is that this time he does not freeze his knee but instead just attempts to hit Mayuri. However, Mayuri blocks the attack and blasts him with an explosive patch, after which we see Toshiro use his Shikai to heal his leg from the blast by freezing his kneecap. He uses a similar technique to heal his wounds in his battle with Busby. Perhaps Toshiro's most cutthroat moment is when he activates his Bankai during the fight. Although he's already under the influence of the time loop drug by this point, we see our young captain use his Bankai more savagely than ever before. This is particularly the case during the second round of this illusion encounter, where we see Toshiro freeze Mayuri to absolute zero, similar to the way Rukia froze Aznot. Now this is a rare feat for my man, as up to this point in all his fights, the captain has never frozen his opponents to absolute zero. Rather, he usually just encases them in a thick ice trap which they are incapable of escaping from. This is the case with all the major opponents he's faced throughout the story, such as a spada like Luffy and Haribel, as well as the more powerful Cang. This feat somewhat hints that Toshiro may indeed have the power to completely freeze his enemies to absolute zero, but seemingly chooses not to do so, perhaps due to a less savage conscience. Sadly, we do not get to see more unrestricted ferocity from the zombified Toshiro, as Mayuri masterfully subdues him once the time loop drag takes effect. All in all, this part of the story somewhat discloses that maybe our little silver-haired captain is immensely powerful, but his conscience might just be holding him back, or possibly he has not fully harnessed some unknown capabilities of his Shikai and Bankai, as we later come to find out in his conflict with the sternritter Gerard, but that's a story for another video. Anyway, at this point of the video, I'd like to hear what you think about the fighting style of the zombified Hitsugaya. Did you find him as fascinating as I did? And most importantly, is there any detail about him that this video missed? Let's chop it up more in the comment section. Also, if you did like the video, please subscribe, like and share so that this video can reach the millions of Bleach fans out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.